Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who has joined us here this evening. Can I get a 5x5 signifying that our audio and everything is just fine wherever you guys are? We just need an audio check 5x5. So far we have Tammy Steffi, S. Nort, Juanito from El Centro's here, Demon Catman from the east of England, one of our mods is here. Thank you very much. Patricia is here. ECV is here. Thank you all for being here. Can someone give me a 5x5 here? ECV says, hello, Ron. Thanks for all you do. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. As we get going here, I want to remind everybody to give us a thumbs up before you leave here tonight. Thumbs up is just part of the analytical factor that YouTube uses to assess whether they're going to allow anyone else to view this video from YouTube. Another thing you also need to be aware, YouTube looks at the entire time that you stay on the air with us. That is also important. If you have not already subscribed, please do so. Subscriptions count on this analytical factor as well. Approximately 29% of people that view this program are not subscribed to it. So please, folks, if you want to have access to this channel, please subscribe. Okay? We put out a lot of emergency preparedness information. We're going to put out some more tonight. It's very encouraging for everybody to subscribe. We need that. You need that, and we need that. Okay, so please subscribe, and when you do that, click on that little bell icon. There's a tiny little bell there. Click on that, and then click on the drop-down menu that comes up, the word ALL, all. Make sure you're subscribed to all of our programs whenever we come on the air. We may come on the air intermittently during the night or early in the morning because something has happened. We've done that when explosions have happened. We've done that when fires have happened, hurricanes have happened. We're on the air whenever emergencies happen, including earthquakes. We're going to be talking about earthquakes today all over the world and on the New Madrid Fault. A lot of people have been asking me, how about the New Madrid Fault? We're here with you on the New Madrid Fault tonight. We have 5x5 from several people here. Thank you so much, Demon Catman, ECV, Juanito. Steve Knox is here. Miss Malone also gave us 5x5, and Anne Marie also gave us 5x5. Thank you ever so much. We appreciate it. Now, I want to get into this program tonight. The first thing I want to do is talk about an Italian power plant that exploded earlier today. I want to talk about this because I think it's important. Okay? This power plant was first put online back in about 1928, and it was serviced again in 1938. 2 years. Okay? Today, at least 3 people were killed after this explosion at a hydroelectric plant in central Italy. Marco Massanera, the mayor of the nearby town of Comunano, C-A-M-U-G-N-A-N-O, Comunano is the name of the town, said 3 people had died, their bodies had been found, and 4 were also missing. 3 others were badly hurt and had to be taken to hospital. The mayor, Massanera, said that the figures were being updated. These are not solid figures of people that were hurt, killed, that were missing. They're going to update us as the day goes on. Firefighters also rescued 3 injured people from the plant, and more were searching for missing people after the explosion early this afternoon. It's not immediately known, and it's not clear what caused the explosion at the dam on Lake Subiana, Suviana, Lake Subiana, which is located between the cities of Bologna and Florence. The dam is managed by the energy company Enel, E-N-E-L. Enel said a fire had broken out on one of its transformers in the early afternoon, and that is why this explosion happened. The company said it had evacuated workers from the site and was coordinating with rescue workers from the fire department. Montanara, the mayor, said the explosion happened 9 levels below ground during work on turbines. They're working on turbines. The dam operator said that the dam basin had not been damaged and the plant was offline at the time of the incident. So there was no impact on electricity supply to the people in Italy. Lake Subian is located in a regional park in the Apennines, A-P-E-N-N-I-N-E-S, Apennines, I believe it's pronounced, at an altitude of just under 500 meters high. It was formed by a construction company of the dam in 1928 and 1932. Now, the next thing I want to report may affect a lot of you here in the United States. Thousands of Social Security numbers were stolen from a government firm. Thousands of Social Security numbers were stolen from a government firm. Hackers stole hundreds of thousands of Social Security numbers from an American consulting firm. The victims are all across the United States and possibly affected. Greylock McKinnon Associates, GMA. Greylock, one word, Greylock, McKinnon, capital M-C, capital K-I-N-N-O-N, Associates, GMA, has filed a new report with the Office of the Main Attorney General. And they sent a breach notification email to affected individuals. In its filing, the company said 341,650 individuals have had sensitive data and Social Security numbers stolen by the unidentified threat actors. GMA told the victims that it fell prey to a sophisticated cyber attack in May last year. In the attack, the threat actors stole people's names, birth dates, addresses, and Medicare health insurance claim numbers, which also contained Social Security numbers associated with a particular member. Furthermore, some medical information and/or health insurance information was also stolen. While the attack did happen almost a year ago, it was early February this year that GMA was notified that it had resulted in the theft of sensitive personal data. It's unclear why GMA took so long to conclude its investigation of the breach of data. GMA told the victims that it fell prey to a sophisticated cyber attack in May of last year. Again, the threat actors, the hackers, stole people's names, birth dates, addresses, and Medicare health information, health insurance information, claim numbers, and also they stole Social Security numbers as well that are associated with any individual member. Some medical information and health information was also stolen. We are going to keep track of this and follow it until we get some firm data. GMA is a consulting firm providing litigation support services in civil litigation matters. This is a consulting firm that provides court services, litigation services to people. Civil litigation matters of people that they manage, or the data that they manage. The data it held was obtained by the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ. as part of a civil litigation matter and then passed it over to the company. Okay? I'm going to repeat that so all of you know what's going on. The data that GMA held was obtained by the U.S. Department of Justice, the Department of Justice, the DOJ, as part of a civil litigation matter, and then the DOJ passed it over to the GMA company. We received your information in our provision of services to the Department of Justice in support of that matter. GMA said in a letter that the DOJ has advised us that you are not subject of the investigation or the associated litigation matters. The Department of Justice informed GMA that this incident does not impact your current Medicare benefits or coverage. The identity of the attackers or their motives remain unknown. No threat actors have assumed responsibility for this attack just yet. It is also not known if the data was from a specific litigation process. Okay? I wanted to make sure you are all aware of this. This is important. I believe this is very, very, very important to a lot of you here. Okay? I wanted to talk about that. Now, I also want to talk about earthquakes. Literally earthquakes around the world. Remnant Truth says we were better off before the internet. I totally agree. I couldn't more agree ever. We've had more threat actors doing harm to more people than ever before. Okay? That's a fact. And you can take that to the bank. Okay? Anyway, I want to start off in Indonesia. Then I'm going to move over to Australia, New Zealand, and the eastern South Pacific. I want to start off with an earthquake that happened early this morning. I was first notified about this earthquake at approximately 7 a.m. this morning. I'm talking about it now. Okay? The United States Geological Survey and the European EMSC agency is claiming this to be a 6.6 earthquake. This earthquake came out as a 6.8. It came out as a 6.8. As of an hour ago, we were still not able to identify pertinent information about this earthquake. USGS had it locked up tight. I will get information tonight. Okay? I have other ways of getting information besides the USBS. This came out as a 6.8 earthquake. They downgraded it to a 6.6. Okay? This was in the coastal waters of the Molucca Sea in Indonesia. Now, I also did checking immediately after the earthquake, and there was no tsunami warning issued. This earthquake, folks, was a 6.8. I believe it was much larger because they're hiding the information. This earthquake was also 22 miles deep. 22 miles deep. Now, for some people, that might seem like a very deep earthquake. It's not. This was pretty close to being a very shallow earthquake. Some of you might think shallow being a mile or two deep. It's not. Shallow could be anywhere from 2 miles deep on down to like 250 miles deep. That's still semi-shallow. This is pretty shallow. 22 miles deep. I checked, there was no tsunami warning issued at all. I checked the Western Pacific Ocean, Indonesia. I checked the Mariana Trench in the island of Guam. I checked over in Southeast Asia, Thailand, Vietnam, and Myanmar area no tsunami warning issued there. I checked up in Hawaii. I checked over in South America. I also checked the United States of America. There was no tsunami warning issued. Okay? Usually anything over a 6.5 earthquake can generate a tsunami. Allegedly, there was no tsunami at all. Okay? Now, I have to trust them right at this point in time. You have to trust them because the Tsunami Warning Center did not issue any kind of warnings, and I did not see any buoys in active mode over there in Indonesia in the Molucca Sea where this earthquake occurred. Now, I'm going to back this out, and I want to show you all of the swarms of earthquakes that occurred. There is a good-sized swarm of earthquakes here. This is the EMSC reporting these earthquakes. I believe there's probably 20 or 30 more earthquakes, aftershocks from this quake. Like I said, this is a big earthquake. Okay? A 6.0 to 6.9 is considered to be a very strong earthquake. And this was at least a 6.8, if not larger. Okay? That is the biggest earthquake today. That is the largest earthquake today. Now, the USGS is not showing much of anything. I'm not even going to show you the map because it's garbage. It's trash. It's trash. Look at this. Again, this is the EMSC Indonesian map. You see all these earthquakes here? There's about 34 earthquakes in Indonesia today, and Papua, Indonesia. Okay? About 30 earthquakes. Okay? Now, I want to show you something else. Over in southeastern Australia, and this is near an area where we've had earthquakes in the past, including a 6.5 earthquake 2 years ago. Hurkle, South Australia. This is a 2.8 magnitude earthquake in Hurkle, Southern Australia. 2.8 earthquake. This one off the eastern coast of Australia is a 3.4. This is a small 3.4. Okay? Small earthquakes are from 3.0 to 3.9. Small earthquakes are 3.0 to 3.9. This is a 3.4. Okay? USGS is not showing that earthquake either. They're not. It's stupid. It's literally stupid. One of the other large earthquakes is over in Sichuan, China. This was a 5.0 earthquake over in southeastern China. Okay? Notice all the other earthquakes over there as well. Now, it's not just China here. Okay, there you go. These earthquakes right here are in Myanmar as a earthquake in China. These are Myanmar, or what they call Burma. These are only 3.4, 3.3 earthquakes here in Burma, or Myanmar. Okay? Over in India, this is a 3.1 earthquake here. Okay? It's just a 3.1 earthquake right here. South of here, the Carlsberg Ridge in India. The Carlsberg Ridge here, this area here, is called the Carlsberg Ridge. Folks, this earthquake was a 4.7. A moderate 4.7 here on the Carlsberg Ridge. Okay? It's also a semi-big deal. The only differentiation is this earthquake did not hit land. It's on the Carlsberg Ridge here, meaning this seismic energy could go up here into Saudi Arabia or it may go up here into Iran and Iraq. Okay? It could. Now, besides that, okay, I want to show you a couple other things as well. Okay? Kashmir, Pakistan. This is a 3.7 in Kashmir, Pakistan. Okay? Right next to it is a 3.0. Usually we have twin earthquakes. When we have earthquakes this close, usually they are twin earthquakes. One is a 3.7 here, and the other here is a 3.0. Okay? Over in this, let me back here. Folks, what you see here, see this here? This is the edge of the plate. It's considered to be the edge of the plate. Notice where this edge of the plate goes, okay? All the way up here into Tajikistan and Afghanistan. It comes all the way over here, comes out of Myanmar, going into the Himalaya Mountains here. It's the edge of the tectonic plate, okay? Where does it come from? Where does it come from? Look at this, okay? That seismic plate goes all the way down here. All the way down here over on the western side of Sumatra, Indonesia. It comes all the way over here to the south of Java, Indonesia here. Okay? Where else does it go? Okay? All the way over here into the Banda Sea area. The Banda Sea area of Indonesia is right here. Where else does it go? It goes down here. It goes up here to Papua, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea here. Okay? That's not all, folks. There's more. I want to show you this. This is important. This is why I say that all the earthquakes are tied into each other. Okay? All the earthquakes are tied into each other. Look where this plate goes. Okay? This huge tectonic plate goes over here. Okay? It goes north of Australia over here into the Loyalty Islands, and over here into the Solomon Islands, and over here into Vanuatu. Okay? But that's not all, folks. There's more. It goes over here into Fiji, Vanuatu and Fiji area, all the way over here into Tongan and Samoa up here. Then what happens? It goes all the way south into New Zealand. Okay? That same tectonic plate. The same tectonic plate. That's why the earthquakes hit as they do. There are 7 different tectonic plates. There are 7 different tectonic plates all over Indonesia, Australia, going over here into Fiji. Well, actually, let's back it up. Over here to the Solomon Islands, down here into the Loyalty Islands here, back up here into Vanuatu, Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, and New Zealand. 7 different tectonic plates moving there. Each one of those tectonic plates is moving. Each one subducting one under the other. That is why we have so many earthquakes in this area. That's exactly why there are so many earthquakes in this part of the western part of the Pacific Ocean. Okay? 7 different tectonic plates, one subducting under the other. Okay? A couple of years ago, I had a woman from Indonesia write me, asking me why they had so many earthquakes in Indonesia. The fact of the matter is it's the tectonic plates that are moving. That's why it's happening. That's exactly why this is happening. Okay? Now, I just looked at the chat, and Mary Shea put up a Christian message in the chat. Now, while I encourage Christian messages, not right now. If you want to put up a Christian message, do so at the end of this program. I put forth a Christian devotional at the end of this program. I have no problem with that at the end of this program. But right now, I want everybody to stay on topic with what we're talking about. That way, nobody misses anything that we're talking about. I have people all the time asking me, Ron, what about this? What about this? And I tell them, I've already talked about that. After we get over or done with this program, go back and review from the beginning and you'll find your information. I say that a lot because people aren't paying attention. Okay? Now, NCWQ Explorer said that the EMSC is not showing all the quakes, and she's right. The EMSC, the European agency, is not showing all the quakes. Okay? But they are showing most of the quakes. Now, I went through the earthquakes earlier today. Right now, as of about 4 o'clock this afternoon Eastern Time, there were over 800 earthquakes worldwide. I reviewed the USGS map, I reviewed the EMSC map, the GeoNet map that is part of Australia and New Zealand. GeoNet. Okay, I reviewed all of their data. There were over 800 earthquakes today. Guess what? The USGS is trying to tell us that there's only 181 earthquakes worldwide. They're full of caca. Okay? They're full of crap. I'm telling you. Now, I'm not going to show you go over each individual earthquake here in New Zealand. But look at this. New Zealand, from the South Island to the North Island, over into the Bay of Plenty. Now, I want to show you where the Bay of Plenty is. Okay? The Bay of Plenty is right here. A lot of people call it the catcher's mitt. It looks like a baseball catcher's mitt here. This whole area here is the Bay of Plenty. Look at all these earthquakes here. There are a lot of 3.0 to 3.9 earthquakes all over New Zealand. However, earlier today there was a 4.0. Earlier today there was a 4.9, meaning a large earthquake hit New Zealand today. A 4.0 is a moderate earthquake, but a 4.9 is always considered, we consider that to be a downgraded large earthquake. Anytime we see a 4.9, we consider that to be a large earthquake because we know that the agencies downgrade these earthquakes. So large earthquake hit New Zealand today as well as a moderate 4.0. Okay? I want to make that perfectly clear. Okay? Look at all those earthquakes. 32 earthquakes here in New Zealand today. 32. That's extraordinary. We usually don't see that many earthquakes here in New Zealand. Usually there's somewhere between 18 to 20. 32 earthquakes here in New Zealand today. Now, that seems like a lot, and it is. Now, I want to show you something else. Some of you have talked about supervolcanoes. Guess what this is? This looks like a lake over here on the North Island of New Zealand. This is called Taupo Lake. Guess what, folks? Taupo Lake is a supervolcano. This volcano is a supervolcano here. It's got all this water here in the top of it. We have had a lot of seismic energy here. Tremors and microquakes have been hitting Taupo Lake for the past year and a half. It got so bad last year, there were so many earthquakes and tremors hitting Toppo Lake that they thought it was going to erupt. It calmed down. It definitely calmed down. But this earthquake just hit on the western side of Toppo Lake today. This is a 2.73 minor earthquake. A 2.73 minor earthquake over here on the west side of Toppo Lake. This is a super volcano. So we pay attention to all the earthquakes around Toppo Lake. This earthquake way over here, this is like 170 miles from Toppo Lake. Okay? I'll show you this earthquake, just so you know. This is a 2.47 earthquake. 2.47 minor earthquake there. That is just southeast of Toppo Lake. Okay? Not too big a deal. Not too big a deal. I want to go north now. Okay? I want to go north. Right up that earthquake fault north of New Zealand there. This is the Kermadec Islands now. The Kermadec Islands. This particular quake is a 2.61. Usually quakes here at the Kermadec Islands are 4.0, 4.9, and occasionally a 5.0, 5.5. This is just a minor earthquake here up in Kermadec Islands. Right next to it, this is a small 3.4 earthquake here in the Kermadec Islands. The earthquake just north of there, also in the Kermadec Islands, is a 3.6. This is highly unusual to have small earthquakes in the Kermadec Islands. Usually they're very large. Usually they're very large earthquakes here. Small earthquakes in the Kermadec Islands today. Does that mean something else is happening? Possibly. Possibly. But we have to remember that the plates here are moving. The tectonic plates here are moving. They're always moving. Now I want to go north. This is northern Kermadec Islands. This is also 3.0 earthquake. The farthest north in the Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands are unoccupied islands. The only thing that's occupied on those islands are birds. Birds. And scientists visit some of the islands at high tide. The only time that any boat can get anywhere near the island is at high tide. If they try to get a boat in there at low tide, the boat would be hit by rocks and the boat would sink. So the only time scientists come here is at high tide, and they probably leave 10 to 12 hours later. Okay? They come and look at the birds, and then they leave. We go north, okay? South of the Fiji Islands. This is a good example. This is a moderate 4.5 earthquake. I don't give a flying rat's frosty keister what the USGS or some of these other agencies call it. These are not light earthquakes. These are moderate earthquakes. Moderate earthquakes do damage. Moderate earthquakes do damage. Light earthquakes are supposedly not supposed to do damage. They're only calling them light because they don't want anybody to know how strong they are. Here also in the south of the Fiji Islands is another good example of a large quake. They downgraded this quake early this morning to a 4.9. It came out as a 5.2 earthquake. They downgraded it to a 4.9 south of the Fiji Islands here. Okay? Then we can go north. And this is another example of what NCWQ was talking about earlier. Over here, near Niafu, Tonga, we had a 4.4 earthquake here, a moderate 4.4 earthquake. They took it down. And this is a European agency. The European agency took it down. Over here, in Samoa, there was also a 4.8 earthquake here in Samoa. The agencies took it down. Heaven forbid that they tell us what's going on. We don't often see seismic energy going over here into Samoa, but there is. There is. They don't want us to know what's going on, unfortunately. Okay? I feel bad for the people in Tongan and Samoa, and I have friends that are Samoan and Tongan. So I know what I'm talking about. I feel bad that the people are not being told what's going on. Now I want to go over, and no, I'm not showing Europe right now because I want to show you where the majority of the quakes are. Just so you know, the area at the Turkey-Syria border, there are 70 earthquakes there today. Most of those earthquakes are minor, small earthquakes, 2.0 to 2.9 and 3.0 to 3.9 earthquakes. There's only a handful that are tremors, 1.0 to 1.9. 70 earthquakes in the Turkey-Syria border area. Why? Because last February, a year ago February, there was a major 9.0, 10.0 earthquake in the Turkey-Syria border region. 5,000 people were killed and over 5,000 people were injured. Homes and businesses were destroyed. Homes and apartment complexes pancaked, meaning hit the ground from the top down. Pancaked. Every time we get a small to a moderate earthquake in that area now, people get scared because those people don't understand that they're only seeing smaller aftershocks. They see those earthquakes as something that they should be scared of. They don't see them as aftershocks necessarily. Okay? That's what's happening. Okay? 70 earthquakes there. How about over in Greece? There's 25 earthquakes in Greece today. Unreal. 50 earthquakes over in the area of northern, southern, and central Turkey. 50 earthquakes there. In addition to the 70 on the eastern side of Turkey at the Syria border region. Then over in Italy, 34 earthquakes in Italy, most of those in central Italy. Most of those are 1.0 to 1.9 and 3.0 to 3.9 in Italy. So how many earthquakes have I talked about so far? Close to 200. And that's just there. We could go over into Germany, Spain, and France, and Switzerland. There's another 15 earthquakes there. How about South America? There's about 38 earthquakes in South America. There's another 20 earthquakes in Central America and 34 earthquakes in southern Mexico. Now, what are we talking about? 400 to 500 earthquakes. 400 to 500 earthquakes. And 60 more earthquakes in Alaska. And about 80 earthquakes in the United States. Now we have over 800 earthquakes throughout the world. And USGS saying we have 181. It's trash. It's trash. Okay? I want to show you this. This is South America. Look at the earthquakes there. And these are not the only earthquakes. Okay? Further south here, further south down here, there was a 4.0 and a 4.9 right there. And they're not even showing those earthquakes. All those earthquakes up here in Ecuador right here, Peru, they're also not showing all the earthquakes here in Peru and Colombia and Venezuela here. Look at all those earthquakes. And they've even missed some. Okay? Earthquakes over here in Central America as well. Look at that. Earthquakes over here in southern Mexico. Earthquakes over here in the Gulf of California. They're not showing those either. They took them down. They took those earthquakes down. Okay? I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you. Earthquakes everywhere. Now, before I go and talk about the New Madrid fault and the earthquakes over on the East Coast, I want to come over here to Iceland. To Iceland. Over here. This is a 3.0 in central Iceland. A 3.0 small earthquake in central Iceland. Okay? This is near a town called Verlir. H-V-E-R-A V-E-L-L-I-R. Verlir, and I'm probably not even pronouncing it correctly. Verlir, Iceland, a 3.0 earthquake today. Okay? Now, Verlir, I want to show you this so you'll understand where this is. Verlir right here with the 3.0, and over here is Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland. Reykjavik, the capital of Iceland. Okay? Now, where have all the volcanoes gone? Not long time ago, because we still have a volcano going on. Okay? There is a volcano still erupting. Okay? I want to just briefly talk about this. Okay? This is the town of Grindavik. Okay? This town was evacuated on November 7th last year because it had had a lot of earthquakes, and scientists feared that the volcanoes were going to erupt in Grindavik, so they evacuated the town. Yes, there were earthquakes here, and fissures erupted, or didn't erupt, but fissures opened up here. All over Grindavik, the roads. We had 14 homes destroyed here in Grindavik because of earthquakes. What's happening now? We've continued to have huge, long fissures open up from this area here all the way up here to where the fissure opened up here 3 weeks ago. The northernmost part of the fissure has a great big huge crater. A great big huge crater cone developed after lava started erupting out of that fissure. Okay, it fountained up here in that fissure area, and because it was going way up into the area here developed a crater. Okay, the lava formed in this round area here around the crater, and guess what? It still is erupting today. The north side of that crater fell last night. The lava was still fountaining in the crater. The north side of the crater fell. And all of that lava that was bubbling inside that crater started coming out of the volcano crater. It's filling in the landscape here. There is no danger to human beings yet. It is the only part of that fissure still fountaining. The rest of the fissure closed down. There were 5 volcano craters here, and all of them stopped erupting except that one northernmost crater. Okay? So there's no humans right now in danger. Now, why are we even talking about it then? Because, folks, just west of Grindavik, we have a power plant and a spa. We have a power plant here and a spa. We have people working in this power plant here. There are people working in this power plant right here, okay? All over here. Over here, on the far west side of the power plant. This power plant is called the Svartsengi Power Plant. West of the power plant is a spa. It's called the Blue Lagoon Spa. People from all over the world congregate over here in the Blue Lagoon Spa area. Okay? You see a parking lot with cars parked in this area. Well, guess what? They have reopened the Blue Lagoon Spa now. But now they've got all these tourists coming back to the Blue Lagoon Spa. Well, guess what happened overnight? Some of these tourists left their hotel rooms and they proceeded to hike. They proceeded to hike all the way from that spa way over here, all the way over here, and they encountered the erupting volcano. They encountered the erupting volcano. Only because the tourists that left the Blue Lagoon Spa way over here and they came over here, the only reason they were not arrested is they were standing a little bit away from the lava, the huge lava field still here. But the problem with that is the lava field here is outgassing. Outgassing. What kind of gases come from lava? What kind of gases come from magma beneath the surface and molten lava flowing over here in the lava fields? Sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, both colorless gases, and in quantities, those gases can be fatal. Those gases are fatal. And all that lava is still erupting. The crater itself, I don't have the video here to show you, but you would see clouds of sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide going up into the atmosphere. People hiked from the Blue Lagoon Spa to see that. The police are not making any arrests right now. But if that lava still comes flowing there and the people don't leave, they may arrest them for their own safety. Okay? The town of Grindavik that I showed you there. Okay? Those people are not in danger much at all. Yes, there is sulfur dioxide going into the town of Grindavik. Sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide. Now, it's not coming into Grindavik in great quantities. Now, the only people allowed into Grindavik are a few people that live here and the people that work here. The businesses in Grindavik have been allowed to come back into operation, including the pier areas. And I want to show you this. The pier areas here where they're processing fish. Okay? They send out boats, about 3 or 4 boats every day, and the boats come back in here in the afternoon and evening and offload their fish that they've caught. Fish is a great food here in Iceland. And the fish that's processed here goes out to all the towns and cities all over Iceland. So these businesses have been allowed to reopen, and other businesses here in Grindavik as well. There's over 3,000, close to 4,000 inhabitants of Grindavik. Some of those inhabitants have had their homes destroyed because of earthquakes that I talked about. Okay? Some other people don't want to live there anymore, and their earthquake insurance kicks in and it's paying them to go someplace else and buy another house and live somewhere else. Okay? That's the process that those residents of Grindavik are going through right now. Okay? Some people want to stay. And there's a reason. Because they feel safe there. That has been their home for all of their lives here. There's a sports complex here. There's a huge sports complex right here. Sports is a big deal here. American baseball and soccer is a big deal here in Iceland. Okay? A large sports complex over there in Grindavik. People like that. No, they love that. They love that. Any questions yet about Iceland or anything else that we talked about so far? Diane Kelman says, not a good thing to inhale. You're right. You're absolutely right. Unreal. It's incredible. Demon Catman is here in the chat because he's one of our mods here, and he's someone I greatly respect. He says, you can take a fool to knowledge, but you can't make him think. You're right. In this case, that happened. These tourists there don't think too much, do they? They walk right over to that lava that's outgassing, and what happens? What happens? They have the chance of being overcome by this sulfur dioxide and carbon dioxide, and all of a sudden they can fall down and not be able to take care of themselves, or their friends not being able to take care of them either. That's a bad thing. Okay? That's a bad thing. Any other questions? Any other questions? Molinier's Raz says, yeah, instant death. Pretty much. Pretty much. Also, I mentioned something here, I believe, last week, is the scientist, Professor Thorvaldsen, told me about a week ago that they're worried about the volcanic glass. Okay? Volcanic glass. Very thin, what they call Pele's hair. Very thin Pele's hair blowing up into the breeze out of the lava field. Pele's hair. Very thin volcanic glass. As it cools, it becomes very thin Pele's hair. If you get that on your skin, it's like a razor. It'll tear your skin up. If you happen to breathe that in through your nose or mouth, it'll cut your mouth or nose up and your respiratory tract, and you'll die. Or if it gets down in your lungs, you're done for. They're telling people that are anywhere near there to wear some kind of face covering and goggles over their eyes, and long sleeve shirts and gloves. Yeah, to cover their head, cover their face, cover their eyes, cover their arms and their hands. That way they're not exposed to the Pele's hair or any of the ash that could be possibly blowing around in the breeze. Yes, there is ash. Diane Kelman says, how many people have died from the volcano? 0 so far. They have gotten very lucky. There were 2 people at the Svartsengi power plant initially that were overcome by the CO2 and the SO2, and they were taken to local hospitals, and they recovered and went back to work. There was 1 person that was working at the Blue Lagoon, and that person was overcome, and the next day released after being in the hospital. Nobody died yet. Yet. I hope they don't die. Okay? The only death that's occurred from these earthquakes or the volcanic eruptions was back in January. Okay? One great big huge fissure opened up in Grindavik. They had 3 workers that had gone down into the fissure, one of them using a compactor trying to compact the earth that they dumped there to try to help fill up that fissure. When that person was operating that compactor, it's jiggling, all of a sudden the earth opened up and took him. And the rescuers were never able to find his body. And I'm not going to give out his name or give you out any more information out of respect for his family. He had a fiance and like 3 or 4 children. So out of respect for them, we're not going to talk any more about that. That was way back in January. Now, Molyneux's wrath, I'm not going to say those words about the face any more than the face covering, because the last time I did, I was taken down by YouTube. They don't like me using the R word or anything like unto it, or the N word or anything. So I'm not saying a word about that. I'm calling it a face covering. I'm not even going to say a D word either, because they don't like that as well. Okay, because they think that I'm giving medical information. I'm not. Okay? It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay, let's get into the primary focus of our program tonight. The primary focus, guys, is earthquakes. We've been talking about earthquakes around the world. Let's talk about the New Madrid Fault. Okay? Folks, this is Catfish Pond, Arkansas. I'm going to go alphabetically through my earthquake list. Catfish Pond, Arkansas. Look at the tremors and earthquakes here. Okay? Look at early this morning. I want to show you this. Early this morning was the first earthquake. Okay? The top line here is midnight early this morning. This red line signifies 12:15 over here on the left-hand side. At 1200 hours, 12:15 this morning, all we had were minor tremors and microquakes. At approximately 12:01 this morning, the tremors got larger. 1.2, 1.3, 1.5 tremors. Then they calmed down for about 20 seconds and they started up again. This time 1.5, 1.7, and that turned into a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. And just a few seconds later, all of a sudden we had our first 3.0 earthquake of the morning. Okay? Then, as you can see off to the right of that 3.0, we have a small triangle out to the right, don't we? That's called a secondary wave. A secondary wave. That secondary wave lasted maybe 30 seconds. So yes, this was at least a 3.0 earthquake. Then 2.5 minutes later, what do we have? Another 3.0 earthquake. Another 3.0 earthquake. This time, the earthquake hit and left, and that was hit and left and quit. After that, you see a lot of tremors here, don't you? A bunch of tremors until after 4 a.m. this morning. Then they calmed down to mostly microquakes. However, something else happened here. Okay? This earthquake here that you see in the center of your screen here, or the center left of your screen, what this is another 3.2, 3.3 earthquake. This happened 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7:05 a.m. this morning. 7:05 a.m. this morning, we have a 3.2, 3.3 earthquake right here. Incredible, huh? Then we have another small triangle going off into the right, and this triangle kind of ends up about 30 seconds later, 30, 40 seconds later. A secondary wave. Aftershocks. Very, very minor aftershocks. Then we go down to microquakes and more tremors for another few hours. Then we come over here to approximately 9 a.m. 9:15 over here on the left-hand side. We come over here, and all of a sudden we are at 9:25, and we have another 2.0 earthquake. And before that we have tremors, and after that we have tremors. Okay, that was this morning. That was this morning. Catfish Pond, Arkansas, this morning. What happened this afternoon? Let me show you. Look at this. Look at this. This green line here over on the left-hand side is 12:45 this afternoon. 12:45 p.m. this afternoon. All the way over here is approximately 12:51 p.m. 12:51 p.m. this afternoon. This, folks, is another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. And you see the tremors building all over the place here. Okay? Then down here after 4, I would say this is about 4:25 p.m. this afternoon, there's another tremor here. Okay? That's all at Catfish Pond. That's still a lot of earthquake for one area over here in Arkansas, isn't it? It's not over, folks. There's more. Let's go over to Little Rock, Arkansas. Look at this. Little Rock, Little River, Arkansas. Little River is just outside of Little Rock. I stayed at a hotel when I was there in Arkansas for a drill. I stayed in a hotel in Little River. Okay, it's just a suburb of Little Rock. But look at the tremors here. And we have one 2.0 earthquake after 3 a.m. this morning. Okay? About 3:10 a.m. this morning, we have a 2.0 earthquake. Then another one at about 5:10, 5:11 a.m. this morning, we had another 2.8. Another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake right here. We're almost right below the other one. And tremors all over the place here. Look at that. Then down here, after 10:45 a.m. on the green line here. 10:45 a.m. on the green line on the left-hand side. We go over about 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes later, and we have another 2.2 earthquake, and look at all these tremors hitting here. A whole bunch of tremors here. Okay? It's moving. That whole area is moving, guys. It's incredible what we've seen today. But it's not over. There's more. This is Little Rock, Little River, Arkansas this afternoon. Okay? After about 2:49 p.m. this afternoon, we have more tremors here. More tremors. And you can see that green line off to the right. They continued. Then over here on this blue line, okay, this blue line over on the left-hand side is 3:30. Okay? All the way over here, this is 3:43 p.m. this afternoon. Look at that. All of a sudden we have 2.2, 2.3 earthquakes. Not just one, but several 2.2, 2.3 earthquakes over here on this blue line. The seismic energy is still there. Little Rock, Arkansas. Now these are just minor earthquakes and tremors, guys. Nobody in Little Rock probably even felt these earthquakes. Nobody. Okay? They're tiny. They're tiny. But what I'm going to show you now is bigger. A lot bigger. I'm going to take you now to Mark Tree, Arkansas. Marktree, Arkansas. Oops, that's this afternoon. Marktree, Arkansas this morning. Look at this. If this don't take the cake, look at these earthquakes here. After 1:45 a.m. this morning on this green line on the left-hand side, 1:46, 47, 48, 49, 1:50. Starting about 1:49 p.m. or 1:49 a.m. this morning, we had some tremors that build up to earthquakes. First earthquake was approximately a 2.4 earthquake. Then they began to have 2.0, 2.4, 2.5. Then it kicked up. It kicked up to 3.0 activity. Back and forth for another 30 seconds. Then the secondary wave kicked in. It kicked in for 1, 2, 2.5 minutes. Now, what I think happened here is they turned down the seismograph. Why? Because the secondary wave here is 2.5 minutes long, which means these earthquakes here just after 1:45 this afternoon should have been bigger considering the secondary wave. This may have been at least a 3.5 or larger earthquake. 3.5 or larger earthquake. Yes, that is still a small quake, but that small quake was felt. There are felt reports here in this area. Marktree, Arkansas. Then we come down to 2, 3, 345, but all the way over here to 355. Look at this seismic energy here. These are all tremor activity. All this here on the second green line here that you see is tremor activity. 1.5, 1.6, 1.7 tremors. And this tremor sequence lasts 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes long. That is an awful long tremor sequence. And you can see these other tremor sequences here. Over here on the right side of this red line here, the right side of this seismic sequence here, you see several 2.0 earthquakes. Several 2.0 earthquakes. So the tremor activity got as large to cause a 2.0 minor earthquake. Several of them, and that's in this end of this seismic sequence here. Then the next time we see a larger earthquake is down here after 8 a.m. 8:45 a.m. Approximately 8:49 a.m. this morning. Okay? Starts off with tremors building into a 2.0 earthquake, and before it's over, it's now at a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake, and it may have been larger. Because I believe that the seismograph was turned down here. I have reason to believe the seismograph was turned down. The machine was turned down. This is over in the central part of the pneumatic fault. The central part of the pneumatic fault. Then, at approximately 9:50, that sequence there, that's still a lot of energy there. Okay? Close to 3.0 earthquake activity. Small earthquake activity. That small earthquake activity is probably felt there as well. Okay? Let's go back here and look at this afternoon here at Marktree, Arkansas. Look at that. The seismic activity continued here. Look at this. The top black line here is 12 noon today over on the left-hand side. You see this red line here? On the left-hand side, this is 12:15 p.m. this afternoon. All the way over here to the right, this is different. This is 12:25 p.m. this afternoon. All of a sudden, we are seeing minor earthquakes here. Starts off with a long tremor sequence, then we start seeing 2.2, 2.3 earthquakes here, as well as another long secondary wave lasting several minutes. So these 2.2, 2.3 earthquakes may have been larger here. Then we come down here to 1, 2, 3, 3:30 this afternoon over on the left-hand side, and then there's another tremor sequence here this afternoon. Then we come down here to 4 p.m. over here on the left-hand side on this black line. The tremors have already started here, just very minor tremors, 1.0, 1.1. 2 minutes later, those tremors are building up. 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 tremors building up to 2.0, and again, this seismic sequence at its largest looks to be at least a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake, and it may have been larger than that. Then the secondary wave here. Let's talk about this secondary wave. It lasts over a minute. The secondary wave lasted over a minute here, maybe a little bit longer. That, folks, is a good-sized earthquake. Mark Tree, Arkansas. Mark Tree, Arkansas. That coincides with Missouri also being in the center of this huge New Madrid fault zone. It's big. This whole area is big here. Now, I want to go over to north central Arkansas, over to a place called Ozark Folk Center. North central Arkansas. Look what we have here. Up at the top, we have tremors again. Okay? After 1 a.m., just tiny tremors. 1:15, tiny tremors all the way over here to the right. At 1:29 a.m. this morning, we had 1.8, 1.9 tremors for about 50 seconds. And it trickled down to after 1:30 this morning here over on the left-hand side. Then what is this to see this morning? What is this jumbled up menagerie of lines here? Guess what? This was the earthquake that happened all the way down in Indonesia this morning. The 6.8 plus earthquake that they downgraded to a 6.6. All these wavy lines here are a result of the earthquake in Indonesia. Okay? All the seismographs should be showing this. Okay? Seismographs should have recorded it. If we don't see this wavy signal here that lasted over an hour, guess what? They manipulated the seismogram. That proves manipulation. If you don't see this signal from the Indonesia quake, they manipulated the seismogram, didn't they? Oh yeah, they did. They don't want us to see what actually happened. Look at these earthquakes after 11:55. Actually, no, it's not. It's 11:40 a.m. this morning. Okay? We have a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake here. Then all of a sudden, a minute and a half later, we have a 3.0 earthquake over here on the right-hand side. A 3.0 earthquake, small earthquake. The Ozark Folk Center, guys. North central Arkansas. North central Arkansas this morning. This afternoon. Look at these earthquakes this afternoon at the Ozark Folk Center. How many 3.0s do you see here? How many 3.0 small quakes do you see? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 small earthquakes here. 13 small earthquakes and other tremors here. That is a lot of earthquakes. Ozark Folk Center, North Central Arkansas. Okay, that's huge. Diane Kelman says, thank God for Ron. We would never know about this activity in our own country. This is the New Madrid fault that we've been talking about, guys. 2.5 years ago, all we had was tremors, just minor tremors, 1.2, 1.5, 1.7, 1.3, that's about it. We were not even seeing minor earthquakes here. 2.5 years later, we're seeing full-blown earthquakes. What is going to happen in the next 2 years? What do you think is going to happen here on the New Madrid Fault in the next 2 years? Guess what, folks? The New Madrid Fault is going to go. I don't think it's going to be much more than 2 years, and we're going to have a major earthquake here in the central part of the New Madrid Fault. That you can take to the bank. From just having minor tremors 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, to these earthquakes now, that is an uptick of like 400%. It's an uptick in seismic energy to the tune of about 400% from what it was just 2 years ago. This didn't happen then. None of this was even visible. None of it. Okay? None of this was happening 2 years ago. I know that to be a fact. I've been watching this. You guys asked me 2.5, well, maybe 3 years ago, what's going on the New Madrid. Everybody wanted to know what's going on the New Madrid. Rightly so. Because people are talking about having an earthquake in the next 25 to 50 years. Now the seismic energy is built up to a great extent. I don't think it's going to be much longer than 2 years and we have a major earthquake here. Let's go down south of Marktree, Arkansas. Truman, Arkansas. Look at this. Tremor activity over there in Truman, Arkansas. Tremor activity here in Truman, Arkansas. Look at that. Let's look at Truman, Arkansas. Still a lot of tremors. Folks, a few weeks ago, we saw sometimes as much earthquake activity in Truman as we had in Marktree. Things have changed. It's calmed down here south of Marktree, here along the west side of the New Madrid Fault. Let's go further south. I'm going to take you now to Tyronza, Arkansas. Look at that. Look at this. Early this morning on the top line on the left-hand side, it's midnight. We go over 5 minutes later, all of a sudden we're seeing some tremors here and there. Then it turns into microquakes and nothing much happens for another 40 minutes or so. Then we see a few minor, very minor, tiny tremors, and then it continues there. Up here, after I want to say 1:30, 1:40 this morning, all of a sudden we see the tremor sequence continue. A continuing tremor sequence of 1.0, 1.1, 1.2 tremors for over an hour. over an hour. Then it dies down to 1.0 tremors for a little while, then occasionally a 1.2, 1.3 tremor, and then all of a sudden it kicks into high gear. It kicks into high gear after 4 a.m. More tremors, and pretty soon down here, even over here after, I want to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, after 6 a.m. here on the black line. Approximately 6:03 this morning, we have a 1.6, 1.7 tremor. We go out here to the right, we have a 1.6, 1.7 tremor again, but more tremors leading up to it and more minor tremors after that. A secondary wave. Then you can see over here on this blue line here, this is after 9:30 this morning. Okay, all of a sudden we have a 2.0 earthquake, don't we? We go from tremors to a 2.0 earthquake, and just over a minute later, we have a 2.3, 2.4 earthquake here on this blue line. Okay? What happens after 10:13 a.m. this morning? After 10:13 a.m. this morning, all of a sudden we see a 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. And after that, more tremor activity, even until 1:59 a.m. this morning at the bottom right corner. So we see an uptick in seismic energy here. Okay? An uptick in seismic energy here at Tyronza, Arkansas, on the southern side of Arkansas. Incredible. It doesn't stop. It does not stop, guys. Tyronza, Arkansas this afternoon. Look at this. Small tremors, minor earthquakes, and then down here, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 4:30 this afternoon on the left-hand side. We go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 minutes after 4 this afternoon. We have a 3.0 earthquake. We're having us a 3.0 small earthquake. Tyronza, Arkansas, guys. The seismic events have happened. It's kicking up. It's kicking up all over this area. Now, you might say, well, what about the north part of the New Madrid Fault? Let's go up to Fairfield, Illinois. That was this afternoon. Let me go back to this morning. Fairfield, Illinois this morning. Let me find this for you. This is Fairfield, Illinois this morning. Look at all these tiny tremors here this morning. The top line again is midnight. Okay? Occasionally you see these 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 tremors kicking up, or long sequences of 1.2, 1.3 tremors. Look what happens after the Indonesia quake. Yes, this seismograph picked up the shaking down, way down south in Indonesia. Look at all these other tremors and minor earthquakes. 2.0 earthquakes. Tremors and 2.0 earthquakes here. Fairfield, Illinois, guys. And I would have to think, I didn't check Chicago, but I will definitely say that Chicago also felt some of these quakes. Okay? Especially the lakefront in Chicago. That is along an earthquake fault. They had to have felt something small shaking there in Chicago. This is happening in Fairfield, Illinois. Okay? Incredible, isn't it? But that's not all, folks. There's more. New Harmony, Indiana. Look at this. Now here, they turn off the seismograph. They turn off the seismograph. Look at this. They only want us to see what they want us to see here. The only time we have full run of the seismograph is down here at the bottom. From like 9:15 on the red line on the left-hand side all the way over here to 11:59 over here on the bottom right. In between here, just after 11 a.m., we have a 3.0 earthquake, and it was probably a sequence of quakes back to back. 3.0 earthquakes, plural. Okay? New Harmony, Indiana. And that's not all, folks. There's more. Let's look at what happened this afternoon in New Harmony, Indiana. This is the northern part of the pneumatic fault, guys. The northern part of the pneumatic fault. Actually, we don't have anything else to show you in New Harmony, Indiana, because they shut down the seismograph. Okay? How about Evansville, Indiana? I want to show you Evansville, Indiana this morning. Look at this. These, for the most part, are just tiny tremors. Again, the line here is after midnight, 12 midnight going forward this morning. You see tiny tremors, you see the Indonesian earthquake here. You still see these small, tiny tremors going through here this morning. Okay? How about this afternoon? This afternoon here in Evansville, Indiana. And folks, this one here in Evansville, Indiana is at a university. The University of Southern Indiana in Evansville, Indiana. Look here. Things definitely changed this afternoon. We still see the tremors happening here after 12 noon. 1 p.m. here on the black line, 2 p.m. here on the black line, just tremors. What happens after 2:45? We have tremors for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Tremors for about 6 minutes. Then all the way over here, starting about 3:49, 3:50 p.m. this afternoon, all of a sudden we start seeing 2.0 earthquakes. A minute later, another 2.0 earthquake. Then we start seeing a sequence of 3.0 earthquakes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3.0 earthquakes. Small earthquakes in Evansville, Indiana. These are felt earthquakes. Evansville, Indiana. This is the north side of the pneumatic fault. So we're seeing seismic energy larger on the north side and the south side of the pneumatic fault. This is a lot of seismic energy here on the pneumatic fault, guys, north to south. North to south. Kanito Warrior saying, thank you, Ron, for your great service and reporting. You guys asked me for it, and I'm giving it to you. I appreciate you all being here. This is important information. People's lives are going to depend on this. I'm going to ask all of you to please share this information with as many people as you possibly can. your family and extended family. I want you to share it with your friends and your neighbors. I want you to share it with the people you socialize with on social media and also the people you work with. If they are not working or living on the New Madrid Fault, they may have family members who are. They need to have this information. The New Madrid Fault is building up. You can see it here. You can see this buildup of seismic energy here on the New Madrid Fault. Literally north to south, east to west. And I'm now going to show you east to west. Okay? This is very important. I wouldn't take my time here if it wasn't important. Let me show you Missouri now. This, folks, is Barker Cemetery. Usually we see a lot more earthquakes and tremors than we're seeing here. All we're seeing up here at the top of this seismogram is tremor activity. That's all. Most of it, I believe, is a zigzag pattern, which is trash. The zigzag pattern that you see here is trash. It's called abstract. However, going down here to the bottom is not. These are tremors. Tremors. There are 6 tremors here that you're seeing. Then we have a couple others that are long duration tremors lasting about 2.5 minutes, and that's all. This is tremors here at Barker Cemetery. Usually we have about 30 tremors here and earthquakes. 30 tremors and earthquakes. That's not what we're seeing right now. Let's show you this afternoon. Look at this. Up at the top line on the left-hand side is 12 noon. All the way over here is 12:11 p.m. this afternoon. A 3.0 earthquake here. A 3.0 earthquake. The rest of this information is tremors, guys. Tremors. Over here on the left, we have another 2.8, 2.9 earthquake over here after 4:30 this afternoon on this blue line. Okay? All the way over, or not all the way, but over here in the center of this seismogram here on this blue line here. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5.5 minutes after 3:30. So this is 3:35 closing in on 3:36. Okay? This looks to be about a 2.7, 2.8 earthquake. We can't see so much as the top of it, but we can see the bottom of it. Okay? Seismic energy building up here. Barker Cemetery, Missouri. What I'm about to show you in Missouri might blow your minds. Okay? New Madrid, Missouri. Look here. The center of the New Madrid Fault, New Madrid, Missouri. Right before the first New Madrid quake happened, it was quiet. Similar to what we're seeing here. It was very quiet. The top of this seismogram is 12 midnight over on the left-hand side. These are tiny tremors. Tiny tremors and microquakes. And yes, there are times that the seismograph was turned off. Yes, somebody turned it off. Okay? New Madrid, Missouri. There's probably close to 500,000 people living in New Madrid, Missouri right now. Right now it's quiet. It's mostly quiet in New Madrid, Missouri anyway. This is this afternoon, the same thing. It's dead quiet. Just a bunch of tiny tremors here. Tiny tremors. Let's look at here. I want to go over to Portageville, Missouri. Look at this. This is right alongside the center of the New Madrid Fault, right alongside the Mississippi River. Look at these earthquakes. Does this remind you of another place over in Arkansas, Marked Tree, Arkansas? Or how about Bombay Beach, Southern California, on the San Andreas Fault? Or how about LMO seismograph on the north side of Mount Shasta? Folks, that seismograph has been turned off for almost 2 years. Prior to that seismograph being turned off, we had a dozen earthquakes just like this over here on the right. At a volcano. This is Portageville, Missouri, guys. And we see the entire seismic system here. It's not cut off at the bottom and the top. Okay? This seismic sequence here is a bunch of 3.0 earthquakes and minor earthquakes as well. And down here on this other black line here, this black line here is after 9 a.m. We have tremors just after 9 a.m. Those tremors build up to about 9:02 a.m. and they get larger tremors, and that suddenly becomes a 2.0 earthquake and larger earthquake from there. Okay? Portageville, Missouri, this morning. How about Portageville, Missouri this afternoon? How about that? Look at that. Some of the earthquakes are continuing, aren't they? They absolutely are. This red line here you see over to the right. The left side would be 115. Over here, this is 124, or actually not 124. This would be about 1:20 p.m. this afternoon. But it built into a 3.0 earthquake. Then we have a secondary wave that lasted another minute and a half, which means this earthquake was larger than a 3.0, probably closer to a 3.5 or larger. Isn't that interesting? And how about this black earthquake on the right? It just tremors, right? It just tremors, maybe a 2.0. Tremors may be going into a 2.0 minor earthquake. But this happened, guys, at, I want to say 3:24, no, not that, 3:14 p.m. this afternoon. It also continued after 3:15 over here on the left-hand side. The tremor activity continues for over a minute. Okay? Portageville, Missouri. Portageville, Missouri. The center of the New Madrid Fault. How about Lake Charles, Missouri? This is this morning. Mostly tiny tremors, and we're seeing that Indonesian quake. Down here towards the bottom, though, over 11:15 on the left-hand side and all the way over here, this would be 11:13, 11:12 a.m. this morning. Maybe a 2.4, 2.5 earthquake. Minor earthquake. Maybe. I'm giving it some. This could be a 1.9 tremor. Okay? But a small buildup nonetheless. Incredible, huh? Oh, it gets better. It gets a lot better. Marston, Missouri. USBS usually says Marston, Missouri having a 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 tremor. Look at the tremors here. It's more than just a 1.2 or 1.3 tremor. It's many tremors, and these tremor sequences last for a long time. Long duration tremor activity here. Long duration tremor activity here. Marston, Missouri. Let's look at this afternoon here in Marston, Missouri. Look at that. The tremor sequence calms down, doesn't it? Microquakes, and we only have one tremor sequence. 1.1, 1.2 tremor sequence here, lasting about 4 or 5 minutes. The rest of this is all microquake activity. But folks, that's not all. There's more. There's actually a lot more. How about Penobscot Bayou? Penobscot Bayou, Missouri. Look at this. This is this afternoon. This is all tremors this afternoon. Let me find this morning. Actually, I guess nothing happened because I may not have put it up here if there was nothing going on. How about St. John's Bayou this morning? Look at this. Tremors all over the place. One earthquake this morning. One earthquake about 9:40 this morning. 9:39, 9:40 this morning, a 3.0 earthquake after all these other tremors. St. John's Bayou, Missouri. Usually we have a lot of earthquakes here. A lot of earthquakes. Look at this. This is also just south of Penobscot Bayou. Tremor sequences, long duration tremor sequences here. We don't have any full-blown earthquakes at all. Okay? There's more. There's actually a lot more. I want to take you over to Ridgely, Tennessee. Look at this. Early this morning we had just microquakes and tiny tremors. That's all. Then about 4 a.m. those microquakes and tiny tremors got larger tremors. They got larger. Then the Indonesian quake happened. And after that quake, we have more tremors, don't we? All the way until noon today. Ridgely, Tennessee. This is the western side of Tennessee, guys. The western side of Tennessee. How about this afternoon? Look at this. Nothing changed, did it? Some long duration tremor activity here. It receded to almost nothing going on at all. Tiptonville, Tennessee. I wonder what we're going to have at Tiptonville, Tennessee. You want to see? I think you do. This is where things change, guys. This is the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. Look at this. Up at the top, you're seeing magma underneath the ground. Magma in the crust of the earth. That's what all that means. It looks like gobbledygook, but that is magma going through a magma channel there in Ridgely, Tennessee. Look at all the other tremors here. Down here at 7 o'clock this morning, we do not see an Indonesian quake here, do we? They scrubbed the quake. They scrubbed the quake off the seismograph, which means they doctored the seismograph. They doctored it. All you see here are tremors for the most part. And over here, after 7 a.m. this morning, you see some earthquakes, some minor earthquakes. Okay, that's all. And off and on here, you see maybe a 2.0 earthquake. They doctored the seismogram, guys. Heaven forbid they tell us the truth of what's going on. We have seen here at Tiptonville, Tennessee, full-blown earthquake activity. We've seen 2.0, 2.5 earthquake, top to bottom and side to side here at Tiptonville in the past. They are not showing us that now. Look here, this afternoon. Here we're seeing earthquakes and tremors and the magma underneath the surface here again. Yes, folks, there is magma down here. Yes, there are volcanoes in Tennessee. Have you heard of the Smoky Mountains? There's a reason they call it the Smoky Mountains. Okay? You can drink the Hawaiian Kool-Aid here. Look over here after approximately 12:50, about 12:51 p.m. this afternoon on this green line. 3.2 earthquakes, multiple earthquakes. The earthquake sequence lasts about 10 seconds. 3.2, 3.3 earthquakes lasting about 10 seconds. And minor earthquakes, 2.7, 2.8 earthquakes. And minor earthquakes, 2.0 earthquakes as well. All part of that earthquake sequence there, occupying about 2 minutes worth of time here. And other minor earthquakes here and tremors, literally all afternoon long. Okay? Tiptonville, Tennessee. There is a seismograph at the federal prison here in Tiptonville, Tennessee. That's what we're seeing here. This is a seismograph from that seismograph at Tiptonville, Tennessee prison. Okay? It's real. It's very real. Let me take you over to the East Coast now. Let's take you over to the East Coast. How about that? Folks, this is Accomack, Virginia. Accomack, Virginia. Folks, here we're seeing tremors, long duration tremors lasting literally all morning long. Why? The Atlantic plate is pushing the North American plate in a south-southwesterly direction, causing all of these tremors here. All of these tremors here. And it's not the only one. It's It's not the only one. How about Roper, North Carolina? Look at this. Microquakes and tiny tremors most of the morning until early this morning. That's when things changed here. Early this morning. Let me enlarge this so you can see what happened here. Okay? We started off here at midnight. Nothing happened. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, starting at 5 a.m. this morning. Actually, right before 5 a.m. Over on the right-hand side on the blue line. Okay? Tremors after or just before just before 4:45. Tremors. Then things kicked into gear here. Things kicked into gear. Suddenly we see 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here. 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes here. Look at all these earthquakes all morning long here in Roper, North Carolina. This is the northeast shore of North Carolina. Look at that. North Carolina, guys. The Atlantic plate is pushing the North American plate in a south-southwesterly direction in a big way. Last week we saw 4 5.0 earthquakes going north along the center part of the New Madrid Fault. The north central part of the New Madrid Fault. Look at this. The seismic energy exists on the center of the Atlantic plate. The center of the Atlantic plate is pushing westward and eastward. The center of the Atlantic plate is expanding. It's expanding. Look at these earthquakes. This proves beyond a shadow of a doubt what's going on here. Incredible. This is this afternoon here in Roper, North Carolina. Look at that. It continues this afternoon. It continues this afternoon with 3.0 earthquakes after 1 p.m. Some of these earthquakes, folks, have been cut off at the top and the bottom. We don't know exactly how strong they're at, how strong they are. But they lasted a long time. Several of these 3.0 plus earthquakes lasted 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long. Up at the top on the right side center of this seismogram, at the top line, this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? 12:08 p.m. this afternoon. That was a tremor sequence lasting 2 minutes. At least a 3.0, 3.5 earthquake. Most of these are larger than that. The top line and the bottom line being cut off. Look at this one over on the blue line on the right. The blue line on the left is 12:30. Over here, now we're looking at 12:20, I want to say 12:20, 23 p.m., 12:23, 12:24 p.m. this afternoon. The top and the bottom of this sequence is cut off. We had a buildup of tremor activity before, and then look at after. The secondary wave lasted at least 3 minutes. The secondary wave lasted 3 minutes. I believe this earthquake was probably a 4.0. Roper, North Carolina, this afternoon. Unreal, guys. Unreal. This is happening every day. This kind of stuff is happening every day. Let me take you over to Georgia now. No. Let me take you to South Carolina. I want to show you what's happening in South Carolina. Okay? Scranton, South Carolina. Look at this. Here again, we're seeing the earthquake down in Indonesia here. Just tremors here. Tremors here all day long here in Scranton, South Carolina. Let me show you this afternoon. I'm not Scranton, South Carolina. Yes, it is Scranton. I'm sorry. Scranton, South Carolina this morning. This is this afternoon. The tremors continued. But we're not done in South Carolina at all. Let's go over to Kings Mountain, Blacksburg, South Carolina. Look at this. Yes, we're having a bunch of tremors here, but we're also seeing some 3.0 earthquakes here as well, and larger than that, probably 3.5, 3.7 earthquake here over on the center right. Okay, look at that. Blacksburg, South Carolina. Guess what, guys? Kings Mountain is a volcano in South Carolina. We're having these earthquakes in South Carolina at a volcano. At a volcano, guys. Let's look at it. Look at that. Nothing more than tremors this afternoon. We go from 3.0, 3.5 earthquakes to tremors. Tremors at a volcano. Let's go down to Georgia. How about Montrose, Georgia? Look at this. Tremors and earthquakes. Okay, we have one earthquake here this morning. Okay, 5:54 this morning. Okay, probably just a 3.0 earthquake. Probably just a 3.0 earthquake here. Montrose, Georgia. But it's not the only one. How about Savannah, Georgia? Look at this. Look at Savannah, Georgia today, this morning. Nothing but tremors early in the morning. But as we go past 7 into 8 a.m. this morning, we have tremors and minor earthquakes and 3.0 earthquakes here after 11:23 a.m. this morning, and probably before that as well. This is not a volcano. Savannah, Georgia. Let's look at Savannah, Georgia this afternoon. Look at that. Tremors and earthquakes continue here. (12:34) this afternoon. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake, maybe even a 3.0. It reached up over the top of this seismograph. Up over the top of the seismograph. And a bunch of tremors. Over here on the right-hand side after I want to say 2:44 this afternoon, there's another earthquake sequence there. 2.8, 2.9 earthquake. Minor earthquake. Savannah, Georgia. This is the southernmost part of where the Atlantic plate is pushing on the North American plate. All over the place, guys. From Virginia south, over 1,000 miles. Over 1,000 miles, guys. Probably close to 2,000 miles. You're seeing it. You're seeing it here. Folks, we have reason to be concerned. Every citizen here in the United States has reason to be concerned about what's going on. We're seeing earthquakes coast to coast, north to south. North to south. All over. Quebec, Canada today had a 1.82 tremor. Quebec, Canada had a 1.82 tremor. And New Jersey. Bedminster, New Jersey had another aftershock of a 5.9 earthquake that hit last week. The USGS tried to pass off as a 4.5. That came out as a 4.8. They tried to pass it off as a 4.5. And I showed you evidence last week that it was at least a 5.9 earthquake. 4.5 earthquakes do not cause aftershocks to last a week or longer. 5.9 earthquakes do. That was a very large 5.9 earthquake, and we're still seeing aftershocks now, today. Folks, I'm telling you, the mid-Atlantic plate is pushing North America in a southwesterly direction. We're seeing earthquakes north to south all over the eastern seaboard. All over. All over. We have 103 thumbs up. I love it. Let's see if we get 150 to 200 thumbs up before the end of this program. I'm going to refresh this page and just see how many thumbs up we really have. Because for some reason, now we show 120 here. I would love to see 150 before we get off here tonight. You guys can do it. If you enjoy what we're showing you here on this program, you're going to want to give us a thumbs up, so YouTube will allow more people to see this program. If you're not subscribed to this program, please subscribe. We're going to show you earthquakes and tremors till the cows come home. We're going to see ultimate destruction all up and down through the United States and all over the world. The earthquakes are not just hitting in the United States. I've shown you earthquakes all over the world tonight. I've told you about them. They're all over the place. They're all over the place. Mount Etna over in the southern part of Italy and north of Sicily is erupting. Mount Stromboli is also erupting there as well. Huge eruptions. Huge eruptions. Sulfur dioxide, carbon dioxide, and ash. Molten lava pouring down the sides of both of those volcanoes. That's not the only place. Krakatau in Indonesia. Dukono in Indonesia. Merapi, Sumatra, Indonesia. And I think 3 other volcanoes over there in Halmahera, Indonesia area as well. They're all erupting. Semeru volcano, Indonesia. We have volcanoes over in South America erupting. Sabancay in Peru. Sangay and Reventador volcano over in Ecuador. Fuego in Guatemala. Popocatépetl in Mexico, southeast of Mexico City. I believe Sakurajima may be erupting as well. Suishima volcano south of Japan. I think we have 40 volcanoes all around the world that are in the prospect of possibility of erupting if they're not already. Okay? Earth changes everywhere. Everywhere. We need to be aware of what's going on around us. These earth changes are going to affect us all. They are going to affect us all. Before I leave you tonight, I want to tell you a story about a young woman. This young woman treasured her children. She treasured her marriage. A pro-life woman, a mother. Her name was Jessica Hanna. I think she was about 31 years old. This mother prayerfully put the needs of her unborn child before her own. She shared the meaning she found in suffering from cancer. She spared her young unborn baby from cancer drugs. She passed away Saturday from cancer. Jessica Hanna of Michigan has not only left behind 4 children and her husband Lamar, but also a powerful example of how faith can help co-opt pain and defang death. On Good Friday, just days before her passing, Hannah wrote, "We have all sinned, each and every one of us. And so as this cross is laid at our feet, and we have a chance to pick it up and carry it to Calvary, we must not turn away and run. Instead, we must carry it and walk alongside the Lord, telling him as we drag our crosses together just how much we love him and wish that he remember us when we come into his kingdom. Just like the good thief, we need to recognize that we are there because of our own doing, that he is there. Jesus Christ himself is there because of our wrongdoing as well, taking upon himself all of our sins and making us whole again. I want to pay our respects to Jessica Hanna. This beautiful young woman passed away from cancer. A sad day. She spared her young unborn child from possibly dying from cancer drugs that could have killed them both. God bless you, Jessica. God bless your family and your entire extended family. They're going to have your spirit looking down from heaven at them, helping raise them, helping guide them, and having Jesus Christ by your side, helping guide and raise your family. God bless you, Jessica. God bless you. Folks, there are probably millions of mothers just like Jessica around this globe. Just like her. May we in some way make sure that we remember these men and women that sacrifice their all for their children. Let's remember them. Let's honor them. Let's live up to Christ's expectation with us. Drew Black says Jessica Hanna is a hero and a saint. I echo that sentiment as well. Folks, every day we're here during the week. Today's only Tuesday. I told you we would talk about earthquakes around the world and the New Madrid Fault and the East Coast. I've explained why these earthquakes are happening. That's not all. That's not all. One more thing. We still have a strong storm system over in the central part of the country. It's affecting weather here on the East Coast. It's going to very negatively affect weather up in the Northeast. Let's pray for those people in the northeastern part of the United States that are going to be hammered by strong winds, rain, and snow during the next few days. We need to remember them in our prayers. We need to remember them. We have a warm front coming into California and into the west of the United States. For once, there is 8 feet of snow in the Wasatch Mountains of Utah. 8 feet of snow. Salt Lake City, it snowed during the weekend. It's raining there now. I don't think there's any snow on the streets of Salt Lake City. There's snow in the mountains. There's snow in the mountains of California. I pray that that snow just doesn't melt all of a sudden and we have flooding this spring. May God bless us and care for us. I love all of you who are part of our EMA family. I want to thank all of our mods as well. You guys are my heroes. June Love has a question. Let me go back here and read her question and try to answer it for her. June Love is asking, Ron, is there any reason I'd felt swaying in northeastern Ohio this afternoon? June Love, I will say you probably had some minor earthquakes there. Minor earthquakes. Probably 2.5, 3.0 earthquakes over there in Ohio. The United States Geological Survey won't tell you about it. They never will. Yeah, you probably felt some swaying going on. I don't know where you're at over in Ohio, but I know for a fact over in northern Ohio, we have an earthquake fault in the southern part of Lake Erie. That could have had something to do with it. Incredible. Thanks, Demon Catman, for helping June and the rest of us. I appreciate that. I love all of you. I dedicate my life to helping everybody. Trying to save lives here. That's what we're trying to do, is save lives. May God bless us all to be more lenient on each other, to help each other and hold each other up. May we stand in holy places like Jessica did. Stand in holy places to stand tall and firm in our testimony of Jesus Christ. May God bless you and be with you. I ask that humbly right now in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. I love you all. We will be back here tomorrow evening. We'll be talking about Southern California earthquakes, and there are a lot of them. Southern California is about to have a very large earthquake. Southern California is about to have a very large earthquake. I think before it hits Southern California, Southern Mexico will get it. Then it will move into Southern California. It's a matter of time. God be with you, always. God be with you till we meet again. Have a great night, folks. We love you very much. Thank you for being here with us. Good night, everyone.